There you go. Uh, Due to popular request, I'm going to go ahead and stream this approach and landing into New Orleans. I am in the PMDG 737-600 model. This is the shorty. We're about 15,000 feet descending into Nowlands. So yeah, should be great. Let's see here. Tap. Here we go. Alright, gonna land with 30 degrees of flaps. Set my radios 09.90 nav 1 and 109.90 on nav 2. That should give us our ILS information. Our flight management computer is saying drag required, so gonna kick in some drag there. Get slowed down to under 240 knots. Let's see. Seatbelt signs are on. Everything else up here looks pretty good. I'm not using any air traffic control or anything today. One of those spare the moment deals. Wanted to jump in and get some flying done while I felt like it. So yeah. Went to Six Flags. Six Flags today, so I am wore the heck out. Alright, about 10,000 feet. Gonna take off our spoilers. Turn on the light so you guys can see. Yeah, this is just like a brief rundown of the cockpit. Alright. This guy here tells me where my nose is in reference to the horizon. So right now we're just like maybe say maybe like 2.5 degrees nose up. Blue is sky. Ground is ground. Got your airspeed, altitude, barometric pressures right there. The altitude I want the aircraft to level out at is 2,500 feet. This guy here tells us where we're at in reference to our flight plan. This pretty much gives us our horizontal situation. So right now we are turning, we're making a left turn and pretty much following the flight plan. I have the flight plan set up all the way into New Orleans. So our engine information. This is our number one compressor. This is our number one compressor speed, and is depicted in percentage. And so right now we're at 34.6 in 1. And down here, we got our exhaust gas temperature, everything's normal, fuel flow down there, and fuel quantity there as well. And pretty much your first officer or co-pilot, just a similar setup on his side. All this you see, well, from here to like here, this is your autopilot. Very simple. Course, speed, your heading. Course and heading, they're kind of one and the same, but this is kind of, yeah, I can get into a whole like another sermon about that, but yeah. Heading is where we want the aircraft to go. And so right now, typically you kind of, every turn that you make en route, even if you're not using the heading, it's a good idea to go ahead and adjust the heading to your current heading. In case something goes awry, you can always just bam, bam, hang select, and you're just not doing anything weird. So there's that. Then you got your altitude here, which we want to level out 2,500 feet. I guess nice and established for our approach. So, alright, go ahead and, yeah, I'm going to turn that off. Alright, go ahead, landing lights on. Logo lights on. We're going to set our ignition switches to continuous. In case we have a little sputter, she'll go ahead and fire back on for us. It's going in, verifying that our cabin is depressurizing according to schedule. This is pretty much all pressurization. Most of it's automatic. You dial in your cruising altitude and you dial in your landing altitude. Cruise, land, simple. There are the valves can be operated manually, but thank the good Lord, you don't have to deal with that 98% of the time. So yeah, it's pretty much set up there. So we're gonna go ahead and get slowed down a little bit more. Go ahead and set our auto brakes to 2. I think 2 should give us good braking action. The braking action is actually dry. It's actually pretty good, so should get pretty good braking performance on number 2 setting. Alright, slowing down here, coming out at 220, looking for 200, and then once we hit 200, we'll go ahead and kick in some flats. Chilling at 200 knots. Go ahead and bring it on down to about 180. And go ahead and bring down our leading edge slats. Also, what I like to do is go ahead and arm my we're basically telling the autopilot to prepare for final approach mode. Basically, those 2 frequencies that I dialed in there, those are the instrument landing system frequencies for the runway. So basically, you got your runway, it's a beam, and it guides you in roughly a 3.5 degree glide pattern, glide slope. So pretty much guides you all the way into the runway. It's a nice clear night, so technically I could completely fly this manually, but normally you want to try to go ahead and use all available automation, and then plus the fact that I'm being lazy. So go ahead and set this to approach mode. And go ahead and kick in flaps 5. Oh. Alright, got flaps 5 right there. We're going to turn on our turn up our volume for our marker beacons. Our markers pretty much gives us our outer marker, middle marker, inner marker. Outer marker, you're pretty much there. Inner marker, you're getting really close to the runway. I mean, middle marker, you're getting pretty close to the runway, and basically, inner marker, you ought to see the runway at that point. If you don't see it, go around. Basically, that's what that means, for lack of better terms. So, if you look here, you'll see our little. We see the airplane's about to meet the glide pattern. So, we are gonna go ahead and slow down to about 170 knots, give or take. And once this guy here intercepts that, and yep, go ahead and drop a gear. Gear down. Gear is coming down. Go ahead and bring it on down to 160 knots. Go ahead and kick in flaps 15. And basically, when I say flaps, I'm just extending the wing out. So the wing is actually extending out. Let me see if I can get a quick view while I'm doing this. See the wing there? Yeah, those are the flaps. Those are giving us more wings so we can fly. So as we slow down, the plane still remains stable. So, there we go. Alright, so we'll go ahead and bring it on down to our VREF, which our VREF is 128 knots. If you notice, I'm talking fast because all this happens pretty quick. There's our outer marker right there, OM. Yeah, we're getting close, so there we go. Yeah, I threw down a butt ton of flaps really quick, so. And we're going to go ahead and arm spoilers so the final's clear. We're going to pretend we talked to air traffic control and we have clearance received. We're going to go ahead and turn on our runway lights. Flip down our heads-up display, and I will take over manual control of the airplane and fly the approach. Alright, so with the advent of the heads-up guidance system, it makes it really easy to fly really difficult approaches because you can keep your heads up. So basically, I'm just keeping the little round thingy inside the round thingy, and my autopilot is taking care of my engines for me, so it's keeping my airspeed up, and the only thing I have to do is focus on flying the airplane. So we are our flying surfaces are configured. We got our flaps down to flaps 30. Auto brake is set. Spoilers are armed. Alright, we're about 750 feet above ground. I got about a 5-degree nose up attitude, which is cool. Perfectly fine, perfectly normal. I'm about 133 knots, which is fine because we're looking for 129, so I'd rather be a little fast than too slow. This is probably the most vulnerable point of any flight. If you lose an engine here, it sucks. So right now we're about 400 feet above the ground. Our minimum decision altitude is 200 feet. So 200 feet, technically, if we don't see the runway, we have to go around. So we have 300 feet right there. Everything's looking good. Alright, 200. We're going to continue the approach. Middle marker right there.
100.
Alright, go start our flare there.
40.
Work out that power.
20.
Work out the power idle. Lined up. And there we go. Alright, nose down. Alright, reversers engaged. Speed brake is deployed. And the auto brakes are slowing us down. Got 80 knots right there. 60 knots right there. We out of the reverse thrust. I'm on the brakes manually. And my ankle still kind of hurts, so yeah, kind of grabbed a little bit more there. And we are down. Welcome to freaking wherever the hell we're at, New York. Alright, so normally you would have the first officer clean up the airplane. And when they say clean up the airplane, that means bring up your flaps. Everything that you pretty much deployed to land and to slow down, you bring all that back in. But since we don't have a co-pilot, our first officer, we gotta do it ourselves. So normally, like I said, you will keep rolling. The first officer, he's doing this thing, but yeah, we don't have that. So here's my auto brake selector here. As you can see here, once I manually apply the auto brakes automatically disarms, because so it's like, okay, you got it now, so I'm gonna stop applying brakes. So we're gonna turn that off, and you can see our flaps are at 30 degrees, so we're gonna bring those up. And our flight director, that will switch there. We're gonna turn that off. That's already off. It's on the first officer side, so we got our flaps up. Alright, landing lights, we don't need these guys anymore, so we're going to bring those up, and we're going to retract those, turn those off, and we're going to turn off our runway, turn off lights, and turn on our taxi lights, because that's going to help us see the center line of the runway, right? So we're going to turn off our engine ignition switches from continuous to off. Our strobe lights are back to steady. Logo lights are on, and what we're going to do, we're going to turn this guy on here called the APU, Auxiliary Power Unit. It's a small, basically it's a small jet engine in the tail end of this airplane. Pretty much all the jets have them, and basically it's a glorified generator. And so we use this for power and air to provide bleed air for the air conditioning, so you can run the air conditioning with the engines off, and also to start the engines, because unlike your cars, which the starter, which is electrically operated, turns the crankshaft, you don't have that in the jet. So, well, most jets. Most of your large jets are actually going to be pneumatically started, or started up by air. So basically it's blowing air at really high pressure to spin this fan blade so fast to basically force air into the chamber and start the combustion process. So if you have flown before and you notice the air conditioners turn off before they start the airplane, that's probably why, because it takes a butt ton of bleed air to start up a jet engine, FYI. So right now we're taxiing to the gate. I got the APU firing up, so by the time we stop at the gate, we should have the APU on and ready to go. Yeah, New Orleans is a pretty small airport, so it's typically a pretty quick taxi to the gate. So, being that this is Flight Simulator, and being that there pretty much are no rules, we're just going to pick whatever the hell gate that's closest to us and park there. So, yeah. That's that. Alright, so we're gonna ease on the brakes a little bit. And let's see. And that little beeping you hear my throttles are really old and the potentiometers are probably dirty. So what you're hearing is when I'm adding throttle, it fluctuates a little bit, and the signal's pretty noisy, so that's probably what you're hearing. So we're going to go ahead and turn on our dome light. Good evening, what's going on, man? Actually, we are just like landing. Actually, we just landed and we are parking. And I am like, there we go. Alright, we're going to kick in some parking brake. Now remember the APU we turned on earlier. Where we're going, we just got there. Oh man, we just landed in New Orleans. Oh, we came from Dallas Fort Worth. So yeah, a little quick flight. I don't know, I might be in the mood for another little short hop here. Let's see, so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and like I said, we just started the APU, so you'll see this light here illuminating APU gen off bus, meaning that right now the APU generator is disconnected. So we're going to go ahead and connect that, take the load off the engine. So engine 1, engine 2, both generators are now off. We're going to go ahead here. This is going to be our air panel. This is what these switches here controls the valve, which controls the flow of air throughout the airplane. So we're going to go ahead. Let's go to the island. Yeah, good luck with that. A good, what, 5-6 hour flight? Man, I'll be done skis. Maybe another stream. I don't know. We're in New Orleans. We might hop to Birmingham tonight. Birmingham's not a bad spot. So we're gonna go ahead and get some bleed air. Keep those air conditioners going. And we are going to turn off the engines. Now pretty much all that what we just did is done in like a couple of minutes, so I'll go ahead and these guys here are fuel turn off switches. St. Lucia, wow. So yeah, we just turned off our fuel cutoff switches. Get the gate moving in there. Cool thing I like about this airplane is pretty extensive simulation. We can go here and chalk the wheels up. We can also connect the ground power unit, and we can also get some air. But we're going to do a quick turn. We're actually going to make another run. Probably. Actually, screw it. Let's head back to Dallas. 2 minute gadgets. Nah, it's not bad. Don't let all this get to you. Once you break this down, it's really not bad. You know, like I was explaining earlier. You know, this is pretty much telling us the where our airplane is in reference to the horizon. This is our airspeed. This is our altitude. This is the altitude that we want to go to, which we're landing, so we wanted to level off at 2,500 feet to start the approach. So that's pretty much that on that. This is our flight plan here, which actually we can go back here to our map. That would show us our flight plan, which it will here in a second. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Engine instruments here. This tells us our fan revolutions. It's not RPM, it's actually N1, it's the N1 percentage. So that's that. Exhaust gas temperature, fuel flow. You come down here, you got your number 2, so you're looking at not the fan blades that you can see on the outside of the jet engine, but the fan blades on the inside. So you have an additional fuel flow indicator here. You got oil pressure, oil temp, oil quantity, and vibration. Vibration is really important. You don't want too much of it. So, alrighty, here. Let me let me get a flight plan going on here. Let's see here. Let me get a flight plan going on here. Open up one of my flight plan tools. Normally, if we were talking real world aviation, all this would be already done. So basically, it's just a matter of opening up a stored flight plan and going. But being that this is a flight simulator, we gotta do it manually. So no big deal. We're going New Orleans to Dallas Love. So KMSY, KDAL. Bam. Cook us up a flight plan. Looking right at an hour. So not bad. Right at an hour. Alright, so hour and 4 minutes. We're looking at a distance of 469 nautical miles. So we're going to save that flight plan. Save as. Bam. Done skis. We're done. So now all we have to do yes sir, flight simulator. So all we gotta do a little walk around the plane. This is the old Eastern Airlines paint color. This airline is no longer in business. But it's always been a big favorite of mine, so I happened to find this aircraft with the paint scheme on it, so I downloaded that one. So these are two GE CFM engines. I think they're rated at about 26,000 pounds of thrust. So pretty stout engines. This is a stubby version of the 737. Like I said earlier, this is a 600 model, so you don't see too many of these. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Southwest Airlines, but the majority of the Southwest Airlines 737s are going to be Dash 700 models. So yeah, Eastern actually tried to come back in like the late 2000s, but it didn't work out. I don't know if they didn't get the funding or whatever, but I don't think it worked out. But I mean, from what I've heard from other pilot friends of mine, it was a great airline to work for back in the heyday, and yeah, it's kind of sad to see it go. So, you know, and in remembrance of that, bam, Eastern Airlines. So we got that. Right now we got our external power hooked up to take some of the load off the APU, so we're going to jump back in the cockpit. And we are going to go ahead and where it says GND power off, we're going to connect that. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go back into our flight management computer. You have two flight management computers. You got one for the captain, one for the first officer. Of course, we have no first officer, so it's just going to be us. So we'll go back here into our RTE page, and we will type in KMSY KDAL. Bam. So you can tell that's pulled up your route because you can go here and see that your route is now populated. So yay, we don't have to do a lot of work, so that's awesome. So going here, typically what I do, I have all my payloads and stuff on this flight management computer. You can set them up differently. So we'll go here to our payload, and really, yes, I have actually. Wow. Actually, they are. Actually, my old flight instructor, she worked for her, and it was a pretty solid company. Yeah, they are still around. So, yeah. All right, cool. We got 124 passengers. Oh no, you're just more seasoned, my friend. Just more seasoned. So right now, got 124 passengers. The reason why it kind of goes so much in depth in the passenger count, each passenger weighs 180 pounds. So of course, when you take 180 times 124, no worries. when you take 100, 124 times 180, you're looking at a pretty significant amount of weight, which changes the dynamics of how the airplane flies. So it's pretty important that you know your payload. So right now our gross weight is looking by 120,000 pounds. Our fuel weight, our weight without fuel, is about 112,000 pounds. So that's pretty important as well. So what we'll do here, we'll go to our fuel. We burned about half, so we'll go back up to 34%. Alright, which gives us about 15,000 pounds. We'll go here to our, we're going to jump over, if I can get to it. There we go. Alright. This is what we, this is how we tell the airplane how much it weighs. So, for simulation purposes, we'll go ahead and populate 112,000 pounds for zero fuel weight, like we explained earlier. And then what we'll do here, we'll go ahead and put in our how much fuel we got, which is about 15,000 pounds. So we'll go 15.9, actually about close to 16 actually. And I like to keep around 3,500 as a reserve. So basically, we're telling, man, it's warm. Basically, we're telling the airplane, hey, 3,500 is going to be like our limit. So don't use that for your calculations when you're calculating how much fuel I'm going to have left. Please do not include my freaking reserve. So that's what we're telling it. Our cost index, basically, the way you kind of look, for lack of a better term, cost index is like how fast you want to burn fuel. The faster, the more fuel you burn, the quicker you get there. However, the less fuel you burn, you're not burning as much fuel, but then you don't get there as quick. So typically airlines, I think they run like 50 or 60. We want to get there, so we'll go ahead and use 80. Our trip, our altitude, our computer is telling us our max is 38,000. I like to do 36 for the distance that we're going to fly. And then you see a little light that comes on there. It basically is asking us, do you want to execute? Of course we want to execute it. So our takeoff, let's see here. This is basically what's going to tell our engine computers the max thrust to use for fuel efficiency and things like that. And we can go ahead and derate. You know what? Let's not derate. Let's go ahead and give us our max takeoff performance, so we can go ahead and get out of here. So pretty much, basically, we're going to be taking off at 91%, and pretty much climbing wide open. So you'll definitely see the difference. You'll see the difference here in a little bit. It climbs like a bad hell. So all right, so we are going to check the weather real quick. Let's see here if I can find ATIS. Okay, no, it's not what I'm looking for. Almost not there. Yeah, actually, yes, there is a fasten seatbelt. Oh yeah, just because you're wondering, you mentioned that. So you mentioned that. Your fasten seatbelt signs are here. It used to be no smoking on this side, but of course you can't smoke on the airplane anymore, and that's blasphemy. So that's pretty much just to chime the flight attendants in case they need something. Normally, right now when we're boarding, it's pretty much set to on. Above 10,000 feet, it's set to auto. So right now we're leaving for on. So let's see here. Right now, going back to, okay, so we got our engine set up. We got to figure out what runway we're taking off on. So the wind is blowing it's coming out 230 degrees at 5 knots. So thinking the wind is coming out of the southeast. Yeah. Wait a minute. No, southwest. I'm sorry, southwest. Coming out of the southwest at 5 knots. So you always want to take off into the wind. So we'll go to our map, and we can see where the wind's coming from. So technically the winds will be favoring runway, technically the winds will be favoring 24, but looking at it, the distance, there's no way we're going to be able to take off on runway 24 because it's way too short. So we're probably going to have to do runway 19. So let's do runway 19. We'll go ahead and set that up. Just to show you how old Flight Simulator is, runway numbers are derived from magnetic heading, and all you science buffs out there, I'm sure you guys know that the magnetic deviation changes over time. So a lot of times we'll have runway 18, for instance. Well, over time it might shift to runway 19 over the years. So the aircraft's computers have to be constantly updated for stuff like that, because if somebody tells you clear land runway 11 and it's now heck 10, then you know so you can kind of imagine the clusterfuck you would have. So now, for all intents and purposes, the reason why I brought that up, because Flight Simulator is really old. It's about 10 years old, and it still has runway 19 as runway 19, but according to the new flight data, is it's actually runway 20. Yes, my friend, because knowledge is power, and power is knowledge. So right here, our flight number for references is going to be Eastern Flight. Oh, no, heck, you can do whatever you wanted to do. We're going to do 254. I don't know. So we're going to do that, and we're going to save, and we're going to execute that. Alright, now, yay, takeoff page. So remember I mentioned the wind was coming out of the southwest at 5 knots, so we're going to do 230 at 5. 230 at 5, the runway is dry, so that's good. And we are going to, and those little numbers there, those based on the information that we entered. Airport Sim 2014 a day. Yeah, I've seen it on Steam a few times. Actually, when you get a chance, go to Steam, and I believe it's under Flight Simulator X. Basically, what I'm playing now is actually on Steam. I think it's about like $30. But it's awesome. I mean, it's definitely worth looking at. I bought it for $7. I already had a copy, but I bought that copy on Steam for like $7 because it was hella cheap. So definitely something worth looking at. But I mean, like I said, I'm a, if I don't know, it depends on what you're looking for. This is a really this is actually an add-on or a mod for Flight Simulator. You don't have to go this far. I did this particular simulation here, the 737, runs about $80 to $90. Actually, I take that back. Now it's I think it's a little cheaper now. I think it's like $60, $70 now. But it's licensed by Boeing. It's used by flight schools for training, so it's pretty extensive. But I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's very rewarding, I guess you can say. But yeah, so we got our takeoff speeds here based off the information that we told the flight computer. So what I'm doing now, I am dialing in the cruising altitude. Alright, our initial speed after takeoff is going to be around 230 knots, so I got that programmed in there as well. And looking at everything, looks like we are ready to scoot. So, with that being said, let's see here. So, we're going back up to our overhead panel. A lot of the stuff we left on because we're pretty much doing a quick turn. So what we'll do here, we'll go ahead and change our electrical load back to our auxiliary power unit. That thing that's sending the ass into the airplane that we were talking about. Bam, right there. The booty of the airplane is right there. Yeah, that's the auxiliary power unit. So, actually, that's the exhaust end to be exact. So, we got the electrical load back on the auxiliary power unit because we're going to tell the ramp guys to go ahead and disconnect the ground power because we're about to get the hell out of here. So we got our parking brake set, so we'll go ahead and pull the wheel chocks. Alrighty, and let's see here. We left our fuel pumps on, but basically you got fuel pumps for the left, right tanks and the center tank here. But being that we're such short of a flight, there is no fuel in the center tank, so we leave the pumps off. So right now we'll go ahead and turn the pumps back on. Okay, and yeah, that taxi light should be off, but it's all good. So working on the flow here. We got the packs still on. We'll leave those on for now. And when I mention packs, I'm sorry. When I mention packs, these are pretty much our air conditioning units. They provide air conditioned air as well as pressurized air to maintain pressurization in the cabin. So the APU that I mentioned, it provides us two things: electrical power and air. And so the air can be used for, of course, starting the engines, running our anti-ice if we need it, and also providing air-conditioned air on the ground. So right now we have those guys on. They're set to auto, so we're going to leave those on for now. And our beacon is already our beacon light is already on, so we'll leave that on. Let's see, position lights are steady, logo lights are on. So we'll go ahead and get them to pull the gate. Zoom out so see all the coolness. And of course it's dark, so really not much to see, but man, there you go. Alright, so we are going to come here. Alright. Okay, so we're going to be pointing. Yeah. Left, okay. I'm just thinking in my head because I gotta make sure when we get pushed back, we get pushed back in the correct spot, because unlike a car, it sucks to freaking make a U-turn in 737. It hasn't been done, but sucks. Yeah. Oh yeah, we've done boarded. We're pulling the gate right now, my friend. We are getting ready to scoot. So right now I am about to get us ready to push back. And let's see here, which airline do I want us to push us? Do I want to push us back? We'll do. Let's see here. There we go. Nope, I do not want to start engines before pushback. So, see the little guy there? Look at my little guy. Yeah, you're working the graveyard shift. Yay. So, right now we're getting ready to start. So now at this point, we'll go ahead and turn off the air conditioning.
You're ready for pushback.
So, whoop, okay. So he's going through his little spiel.
Locking gear.
Alright, let's see, that's done, that's done. This is our window heat. Up there. You want to leave that on, because it's pretty cold at 36,000 feet.
Departure check completed. Light has been inserted. Release parking brakes.
Alright, parking brakes released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start that wheel.
Alright, they were pushing us back and they just told us that we are good to go to start the engine. So actually, typically what I do in Flight Simulator, since the traffic in Flight Simulator is stupid, I always check my rear end to make sure I'm not being pushed back into a freaking another airplane. So, yeah, I forgot to do that. Alright, so aircraft startup. So we're starting up the aircraft now. You always want to start from right to left. So, right engine being the number 2 engine, left engine being the number 1 engine. So we'll go ahead and start to number 1 to mean the number 2 engine. And we'll set this ignition switch here into ground. So what we're doing here, we are forcing air into the engine to spin the compressor blades, and we're watching this RPM here. When that guy hits 23%, at that point, the engine is spinning fast enough for us to introduce fuel and start the combustion process. So we're getting 23% right there. Bam. So here in a minute, there you go. Right now, you see our exhaust gas temperature is shooting up. As long as it stays under about 700 degrees, we're good. Alright, looks good. So we got fuel flow right there. We got good oil pressure coming up there. Fuel flow is good. Alright, and you'll see our number 1. You'll see our N1 coming up as well.
Set parking brakes.
Alright, they told us to set the parking brakes, so we're going to set parking brakes. And while he's doing that, we're going to come up here and make sure our engine-driven generator is working. So it's actually putting out. That's good. It's putting out about 400 volts. So, yay! So we're going to come out here to our electrical bus panel. Is educational. Ah, that's cool. I mean, I could have like read a book or something like Reading Rainbow, but I won't do that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and connect the number 2 generator. Alright, so we've taken the load off the APU for now. Partially. So we'll go ahead and get number 1 started. So number 1 starting, and should see her spin up right there. There she goes, she's coming up. She's coming up.
Clear. Right is clear.
Alright, at 20%, 23%. Fuel flow is on. Alright, got good EGT. And this is a pretty important moment. The reason why this process is not like turning on and yay, it comes on. This is a pretty important process because what happens is if you introduce fuel too early, you'll cause what is called a hot start, meaning that, how can I explain it? Basically, in a jet engine, you get air, like this is the mouth of the jet engine. You get air coming in this way. Well, what happens is in the hot start is there's not enough air to keep the combustion process going this way. So what happens is air is coming back forward, and that's, yeah, like you tear shit up. So yeah, it's just not good. So that's engine starts, or it gets pretty quiet in the cockpit during the engine start. So yeah, that's that. Alright, we're started up, so we're coming here to our number 1 generator. She's putting out, so we'll go ahead and connect her there. Alright, let's go ahead and get some air conditioning back in there. I'm sure it's gotten pretty warm, so we are going to get some air conditioning going. And we're going to turn off the APU to save fuel because we no longer need it. So we got our taxi lights back on right there, and we have this airplane like right. Okay, yeah, it's time for us to go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and taxi. So we are going to turn off our dome light, and you know what? this is the beauty about Flight Simulator. Let's go ahead and freaking turn off traffic, because... Go away, traffic! Yay! Go away! Yay! Alright. Wait for my computer to stop being retarded. Alright, there we go. Okay, so we are going to... What I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to add some flaps here. So basically, flaps is a flight surface that is extended out from the wing to add more surface area to the wing. So the more surface area you have, that helps us take off at a much lower takeoff speed. So if you check out the wing here, I'm about to add 5 degrees of flap. So 1, 2, 3. So you'll notice the flaps there starting to come down. There we go. Those are flaps. So, and you can also verify that here on our gauge. So that's done. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get off our parking brake and get out of here. Let's see here. And that light there is never a good thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to slow down. We're going to go ahead and stop. And if you look over here at the, let's see, at the panel it says doors. So we're going to check and see what's going on with the doors. So it's saying that we have an issue with our left overwing and right overwing door. Trust me, this happens. Typically, the sensors get dirty, and sometimes it causes an issue with the enunciation that you see here. You'll get a false enunciation reading. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and acknowledge that. And we'll come here, since we are in a simulator, being that we properly addressed the issue, and normally we would go and we will verify with maintenance to make sure that it's not a pertinent problem. We're going to go ahead and assume that all that's been done. And as soon as I can find it, aircraft failures, okay. We are going to go ahead and let's see here. Alright, failures, all systems, service-based failures, maintenance, okay. Clear all. Okay, they're all cleared, so now, and it's still there. Why are you still there? Okay. Alright, so visually checking the doors. The doors are closed. Yay! Alright, so we're going to clear active. Okay, no, that's not it either. What? Alright, and we're going to go ahead and service all. For the sake of covering everything. Oh my gosh, and it's still there. Left overwing. Alrighty. Let's see here. Alright, return. Tell you what we're gonna do. Maintenance. Service system. Clear active. And then clear all. And you're still gonna be gay? Are you serious? Alright, let's go here. I think all systems should have gotten it. You'd think. Alright. Plan B. What we're going to do, we're going to do a pressurization check. We're going to check to make sure this airplane will hold pressure. If this airplane holds pressure, we're gonna go ahead and freaking, we're gonna call it good, and we're gonna scoot. So let's see here. I'm going to set this guy to alternate, and we are going to apply some thrust to get some air in the system, get some more air in the system. I'll get close to about 40%. Alright, let's see here. Put the packs on high. Looking for the change, and no change. Alright, so we're calling her good. We're getting the hell out of here. Alright, so alright, we're taxiing. Taxi, there we go. And in case you're wondering, like, okay, like how in the heck do they freaking steer on the ground? They don't turn the wheel. They don't turn this wheel here. This is solely for roll and pitch control. That's all that's for. It's actually turned with this little, let's see, try to do it and not kill. Okay. If you see me turning it there, yeah, that's called the tiller. And that is what they use to steer the aircraft on the ground. Of course, it turns the nose wheel. Yep. So, actually, some of your smaller aircraft, they don't even have a tiller. They actually use, on airplanes, you don't have just like one brake pedal. You actually have two brake pedals, one for the left main gear, one for the right main gear. And so you can actually steer using differential braking. I'm doing that here. I'm not turning the tiller, I'm just using differential braking. So there are more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to that. So alright, we are taxiing to the active. Ho 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 ho. I really need a new second monitor. I'm watching my chat, but like my freaking second monitor like blinks like off and on. It's weird. Of course I've had it since, oh god, like my first rig I built. Which, James, I think you remember that. So that's how long I've had the second monitor, and yeah, I think she started to die on me. So if you type something and I don't see it, it's probably because like my monitor freaking died. So just bear with me, and yeah, one day I shall be able to upgrade. One day. So let's see. Yeah, you remember that? This was like forever ago. So yeah, the monitor is that old. That old. Alright, we're taking off from, what is that? Is that 2, it's like 2.8? Alright, here, so we are going to, alright, I guess we're going to take off from runway 28. Normally we will be talking to ground, and ground will tell us, you know, Eastern 275, taxi to taxi via taxiway Alpha Bravo Charlie. Those are names of taxiways to runway 28 or whatever. And but yeah, we're not doing it tonight. So so we're going to make an adjustment. We're going to tell the flight computer what runway we're taking off, and we're going to tell it 29. So it's saying, hey, you've changed something in the takeoff performance menu, so I'm going to delete the takeoff speed so you can re-verify them. Okay, cool, no problem. So we're going to go back over here, and we're going to go ahead and execute it. And let's see here. So V1 which is V1 is basically the point of no return. V1 is the speed in which you make the go or no-go decision. At 119 knots, we either say, hey, we're flying, or no, we're not flying. And at 119 knots, that tells us that we should be able to cut the power, apply reverse thrust, and apply max braking and stop on the remaining amount of runway. Now, past V1, we're flying. Whether we blow a tire, lose an engine, whatever, zombie attack, we're flying. So, at 122 knots, we're rotating. So rotating basically means pull back and take off. V2 is the flap retraction speed. So we're actually going to start cleaning up or retracting the flaps that we, bam, extended. We're going to retract those guys past 132 knots. So that's what that is. So we're going to assume that we've got takeoff clearance. So what we'll do, we just can't go and take off. What we'll do, let's go ahead and get the autopilot ready. So we'll go ahead and arm our flight directors, which basically gives us a little needle to go by. We'll arm our auto throttle and our vertical navigation and lateral navigation. Vertical means up and down, of course, and lateral means horizontally left and right. So we got that done. We're also going to turn on our landing light so we can get maximum visibility on the runway. So you can see it got a whole lot brighter. We're going to turn off our taxi light, and we're also going to turn on our runway turn-off lights. So we're going to do one final check. We did acknowledge the doors. We are pressurizing normal, so we're going to continue. No issue there. Everything else looks good. We have our auto brake set to RTO. So what's going to happen here is when we bring the throttles to idle, the plane is going to automatically apply the brakes for us, which is hella awesome. And we're also going to arm the spoiler in case shit hits the fan. We can get that extra. And basically, I didn't explain that either. Spoilers are these guys here. They basically, pretty much what they say, they spoil the airflow, so they pretty much destroy lift on the wing, and they do a really good job at it. Almost too good sometimes. So that's done. So we're going to go ahead and arm those. We're going to turn on our weather radar. Well, actually it was on the whole time. Whoopsie. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on. Our transponder, that guy's on, so air traffic control can see us if we were talking to them, which we're not. So, and that's it. So what we'll do here, we'll go ahead and drop our heads down display. And just FYI, not every aircraft has a not every commercial aircraft has a heads-up display. It depends on if it's been requested by the airline, which I would say about 60% of them have it now. So like I said, not everyone has it. So we'll go ahead and taxi onto the active. And normally at this point we could actually go ahead and take off, but for our purposes we're going to go ahead and stop. Make sure our seat is set and apply takeoff power. So when you're applying takeoff power, we're in a jet engine, so pretty much jets are giant air compressors. So we don't want to. We'll want to give it a smooth application of air, smooth application of power. So we're going to start off at 60%. And wait for our engines to stabilize at 60%. And we have an alarm. So we have to check out the alarm. And I think I know what it is. Didn't see that earlier. So, alright, now here we go. Alright, so 60%. Wait for the engines to stabilize. We're at 60%. Alright, got takeoff power set. Alright, engine instruments are still within limits and the airspeed's alive, meaning that their airspeed gauge is moving. Alright. So we're at 80 knots. We're gonna be rotating at 122.
V1. Rotate.
There we go. And we're gonna pitch up about 10 degrees. Looking for about 10 degrees pitch. And we got a positive rate, so we're gonna retract the landing gear. And that flashing no AI3 basically means we're not flying an ILS approach, which is normal. So, alright, we're going to go ahead and start cleaning up. Alright, got all of our flaps retracted. And just to show you the flight director, I'm going to go ahead and lift up the heads-up display. And you see those crosshairs there? Basically, the airplane is telling us if we can put the nose, which is this dot, on those crosshairs, we are actually flying the programmed flight plan. So that's all we have to do. So, trying to... As you can see there, if you look to your left, those numbers there, that's actually our airspeed. So right now we're getting close to our program 250 knots. So, and if you look here, we're climbing at 4,500 feet per minute. We're just passing 5,000 feet. And what the airplane's doing, just to give you an idea, pitch plus speed equals performance. So when I say that, it doesn't use engine power to achieve a certain airspeed. It's actually setting the engine power at a preset climb speed or climb power percentage, and we're actually using pitch to control speed. Since the higher of an angle of attack you have, the slower the airplane will go. The lower of an angle of attack you have, the faster, or nose down, the faster you'll go, basically. So, what I mean when I say that, for instance, right now we're at 245 knots. 255 knots. If I increase my angle of attack, you see that speed start decreasing. But what's going on here, we're actually passing 10,000 feet. So the airplane is going to want to start leveling off and start picking up speed and continue the climb to 36,000 feet. And at this point, if we were doing real-world operations, we'll go ahead and let the aircraft take over from here. So I'm going to trim out. I'm going to go ahead and trim the airplane out a little bit, and I'll explain trim here shortly. And I'm actually going to press the button for the autopilot and let her take over. So you'll see her start. There you go. She's chasing the flight director now, and she is established on our programmed flight path. Well, kind of, sort of. She'll start lining out here once she passes this waypoint. These waypoints are pretty much just they're GPS coordinates basically. They're nothing special. They're aeronautical intersections that are published, and that's basically how planes use to navigate. That's basically what they use to navigate. So, in case you're wondering. So right now we're passing 13,000 feet. So we'll go ahead and since we got smooth air, we will go ahead and put the seatbelt signs back to auto, and we'll also turn off those landing lights and the runway turn off lights. So that's done. And at this point, that is pretty much all you do. Realistically, that's pretty much all you do. Right at this point, you're pretty much monitoring engine parameters, making sure everything's kosher, double checking things. Alright, that announce station did go off. Go ahead and get some more light in here. There we go. Of course, now that we're climbing, I can kind of get into this a little bit in depth. This is your overhead panel. Don't let all the switches bother you. They're all in certain groupings. So, starting from, change the view here. There we go. Starting from left to right. Whoops. Alright. Okay. That's my son. Starting from left to right, this is basically, there we go. This is basically your flight control panel for your auxiliary flight control switches. The yaw damper, which yaw damper, basically yaw is this way. So, sometimes the little seat in your pants feel you feel, that's yaw. This dampens that for passenger comfort. Below that, you got a navigation panel, which, you know, all you're doing is just changing sources, depending on, you know, which inertial reference system you're using. You can use, of course, there's pretty much two of everything on the airplane, so you can go left to right. Flight management computers, you can use them both, which is normal, or left to right, vice versa. Going back up, it's a little backwards, yeah, my bad. Going back up, this is your inertial reference system. Basically, this tells the airplane where it's at in space. Three-dimensionally, I guess you could say. This is initially set on the ground. So basically what you'll do, you'll type in latitude and longitude, and you're pretty much telling the airplane, okay, I am here right now. This is where I'm at. And it uses that as a baseline for navigation. So now it's all GPS. Back in the day, they actually used to be a bunch of spinning gyros inside, and the gyros, of course, maintained the same plane as the aircraft moved, and but WLAN, in case you're wondering, this is what gives you your wireless internet for the passengers, and you can actually turn that off and on. It's flight simulator, so it really don't freaking matter. This is your electronic engine control switches for the computer. Service center phone. These are just stall warning test switches, just to test your warnings. Let's see here. Navigation, these are just going to control your displays. Let's go and check our altitude. Alright, past 18,000 feet, we need to change our barometric pressure to standard pressure, which is 2,992. So we'll just hit standard there, and it changes it for us. So that's done. And we're actually going to be coming up on a sharp left turn. This is MCB. MCB stands for Macomb. Macomb, of course, I'm sure some of you know, is in Mississippi. So we're taking kind of a little bend to Mississippi, and then we're beelining over west. So, yeah. So from there, we'll cross Alexandria, and you know, from Alexandria, so hop and skip to Dallas. So, going back to our overhead panel. Yay. Okay. All right. So, of course, I explained this earlier. It's your fuel pumps. This here gives you your electrical readout. Pretty much is Professor Stalker Actual. Dude, shut up. I just... Back up, breaking these food. Okay, cool. No problem. Yeah, for just FYI, my monitor just came back up. So, yeah, I'm just seeing all your messages. But, moving along, this pretty much, alright, that's right, okay, this pretty much just tells us what our generators are doing. So it gives us our amperages, if there's a load or a voltage, volts. Go back here, of course, you know, pretty much the same thing. Going to the DC side, our direct current tells us our battery voltage, 28 volts, rolling at 45 amps. So you got your AC shit here, and then you got your DC, DC stuff here, your AC stuff on this side. So all your generators are going to be then on this side, your inverter and all that cool stuff. And then all your battery stuff, if you want to know how much voltage, you just turn here to, like for instance, like your standby battery. So you go down here to standby power, we got 26 volts, so yeah, we're good. So, galley power, basically galley, you know, the little freaking, the coffee maker and all that shit for the flight attendants. That controls the power over there. Your standby power switches, that's set to auto in case you lose the battery, you got another battery. These guys we've been playing around quite a lot, we've been playing around with quite a lot. I'm sorry guys, yeah. Basically, you know, this is pretty much how you move electricity around in the airplane. So right now we're on the left and right engine generators. Basically like your alternator in the car, same thing with jet engines. They have an alternator, and that's pretty much where we're running off the alternator on the engines right now. So that's good. Got your windshield wipers, left and right windshield wiper. This is like for your lights, so you can dim them, you can brighten them, whatever you want to do. That's for your emergency exit lights. This equipment cooling, this is pretty much for your avionics. Of course, there's a shit ton of computers running all this, so they produce heat. Oh, dude, Zen is absolutely addictive. I'm gonna tell you how addictive it is. Of course, I have my pilot's license. I'm still doing this, and I have literally done 8-hour flights before. You can ask James, he's a really good friend of mine, you can ask him. I've literally taken off from Atlanta, and 8.5 hours later landed in London. Real time. So yes, it's very addictive. Very addictive. And yeah, it's addictive. So moving along. Oh yeah, little gauge there. That's for your crew oxygen. In case cabin depressurizes. That just shows how much pressure the crew oxygen, how much oxygen the crew has, basically. Little side note on the oxygen. Don't take a whole lot of comfort when they explain the oxygen mask. the oxygen system for passengers is actually chemical based. So basically, when they drop and you pull the little thing, it pretty much activates this chemical reaction, and the byproduct happens to be oxygen. So you only got 12 minutes of that. So after 12 minutes, you're screwed. The crew oxygen supply, on the other hand, lasts roughly up to an hour. So yeah, so it's kind of, yeah, but yeah, it kind of sucks, but yeah. Anyway, moving along. So of course you got the window heat, which, you know, 36,000 feet gets pretty freaking chilly. So just keeps the ice off the windows. You got your probe heat. So your probes, or your pitot static probes, are basically, as the airplane's traveling in the air, there's this little tube that is basically, there's actually two tubes, one on each side of the airplane for redundancy. So air travels through this little small hole. Okay, that alarm tells us that we are approaching our cruising altitude of 36,000 feet. So we are pretty much there. So awesome. Yeah, so basically air travels in this little hole in this tube and compares it with the static air pressure, and that's what gives you your airspeed. And which is depicted here. Now, funny thing. It's actually gonna be, it's not funny like people died, but I mean, so it's not really funny, but you know, it's kind of like, wow, seriously. The reason why you have heaters on that, of course, you know, it gets pretty freaking cold. So what happens is you get these little water droplets landing on this bare metal, because it is bare metal, freezes and blocks the tube. So you're in the air, you're climbing in altitude, and your pitot tube is blocked. So what happens is, if the static port or the pitot tube is blocked, there's no way for the air to come out the other side or escape. So what you've done is, instead of an airspeed indicator, you've created a you created basically an altimeter, because the trapped air, as the air pressure decreases as you're climbing, the molecules expand. The expansion affects the diaphragm, which gives you your airspeed. Well, if the molecules are expanding, which in essence is affecting the diaphragm, and you're not getting a precise reading because you don't have air coming out the other side, what happens is, as the plane is as the aircraft climbs, the speed increases, which is weird, because did I not just say when we took off, the higher the angle of attack, the lower your airspeed? Okay, that's weird. That's confusing. I don't get that. Well, that happened to two pilots flying from, I forgot where the hell they were flying to. But as they were climbing, their air pressure, the airspeed was increasing. It's like, God, that doesn't make any sense. Well, in actuality, their airspeed was decreasing. So a natural response, we're like, okay, our airspeed is increasing, let's go ahead and cut power. Well, they're already kind of screwed, because you're climbing, and of course the higher you climb, the more power you need to maintain flight. You have to have power to maintain flight. Okay, so they cut their power. Alright, so that rapidly increasing airspeed is actually rapidly decreasing airspeed. And basically in the airplane, when the airspeed decreases, to a certain point, air is unable to maintain contact with the wing, and it starts spilling over the wing. And the wing at that point is no longer flying, is no longer able to maintain flight at that point, and that's what is known as a stall. Stalls are very bad. Like, picture a fat person in yoga pants in the sun. Like, picture that in your mind. And to pilots, that's pretty much what a stall is like. They are recoverable. It's not like, oh god, I'm stalling, you know, oh, no, it's nothing like that. It's actually quite easy to have a stall. A lot of times it's just a matter of letting go of the wheel. Because as I'm pulling back on the wheel, I'm increasing the angle of attack, right? So, you know, I'm pretty much dropping out of the sky. Well, the aircraft engineers are pretty smart, even though the engineers are pretty smart. So, the airframe and the airplane is naturally designed to fly. So once I let go of the wheel, it's going to, of course, what? Lower the nose. You might be in a little bit of a dive, but it's going to lower the nose, airspeed to build back up, and once we start getting airflow back over the wings again, bam, we're flying. Now, let's say if we're landing and we're 2,000 feet above the ground and we're in something like freaking this, 2,000 foot above the ground, and we stall, that sucks. I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, you're not coming out of that. But you know, if we're something like what, 30-something thousand feet. Do I teach? No, I don't teach. I don't teach. Like a part of the program, like you get your flight instructor's rating, so you know it's like you have your flight instructor's rating, but some people are natural teachers, and I don't consider myself one of them because I don't have that patience aspect. Because even though, like, when I first started flying, like, people were patient with me, like, sometimes I'm like, God, dude, I would like freaking threw myself out of a freaking airplane. Because, yeah, it's just being able to exhibit that level of patience, I just don't have. So it's like, yeah, I got my rating, but yeah, I'm never going to use it because, yeah, people. But, no, it's just fun. It's something I've always loved to do. And actually, how I really got into flying was from Flight Simulator. This was like back in freaking, oh god, 99, 97. I was in Sam's Club and they had a computer display of Flight Simulator. And I remember I used to always want to freaking go to Sam's just so I could play Flight Simulator. So fast forward a couple of years, I built my first computer and I bought Flight Simulator, and I've been playing it ever since. And when I went to flight school in 2006, you know, by of course flying Flight Simulator. Flight Simulator, you get the procedures down, but there are certain aspects of flying the airplane that is, I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's seat of the pants, you kind of have to feel it. Like, for instance, an airplane stalling, you know, you may get the alarms or whatever, but when you actually feel an airplane stall, you know, you really don't even need to have the alarms. You can kind of feel when the airplane's about to stall. And you don't get that Flight Simulator. Well, not this Flight Simulator. Now, if we're talking freaking, you know, flight safety, $5.5 million freaking hydraulically actuated simulator with all the freaking bells and whistles or whatever, yeah. But, you know, for what we got going on here, we're not gonna, so But yeah, so it's always been a passion of mine. Pretty much, I don't know, I've always kind of like had a little fascination of anything that freaking moves or has an engine or transport shit. It's pretty freaking cool to me. But yeah, freaking, I mean, the overhead panel was not bad on the 737. I mean, you look at the switches, when you break them down in sections, you're like, okay, it's not bad, you know. Like, you know, this section here is pretty simple. This is our anti-ice. So basically, when we hit this switch, there are valves that sends bleed air. So bleed air from the engines, which is freaking ridiculously hot, sends it through the wings, which melts ice off the wings, which, if you accumulate a lot of ice on the wings, it basically changes to the air. I mean, of course, you know, we look at it, it was like, okay, this is fucking ice on the wing, but when you're air and you're traveling over a wing, you don't freaking know the difference. So basically, when we accumulate ice on the wing, we're basically changing the shape of the wing to a less aerodynamic shape, and it makes us more prone to stalling, and in a lot of cases it makes the airplane unflyable. So anti-ice is really important, especially when you're in cold climates, or even not even cold climates. I mean, there's times you might be taking off and it's freaking gorgeous 70-degree weather, but 5,000 foot above you is below freezing, and you know you're in icy conditions. So it's really important that you have that engine anti-ice. If you look at the engines there, that outer ring, woo, the outer ring around the engines can actually accumulate ice, and what will happen is you will actually get chunks of ice coming into the engine, which is, yeah, it's pretty freaking bad. So that pretty much, you know, we turn that on, keeps the outer rim of the engine heated to prevent ice accumulation. So that's pretty much it for the anti-ice panel. This guy here, this is the hydraulic panel. You got 4 hydraulic pumps, which hydraulics, we use that to operate the flight controls. It can be flown without hydraulics, but it's pretty much like driving a car without power steering, and driving something this size without power steering, it takes both pilots, I'll put it to you that way. So we got 4 pumps for redundancy. One is electrically operated, and then your other one is actually operated off the engine, basically an accessory off the engine. So you got 2 per engine. That's it. That's pretty much it right there for, you know, for your pumps. And got your cockpit voice recorder, which, you know, pretty much records the oh shits, and you know, hey, watch this and all this, and you know, when the plane crashes, and they recover the black box. That's really not black, but they call it the black box. But that's pretty much it's gonna be your CVR. It's gonna be your cockpit voice recorder. So I mean, really all you can do is test it and erase shit. But that's that. And this guy here tells us our cabin pressurization altitude. Pressurization, very important at 36,000 feet. So even the reason why we're at 36,000 feet and haven't passed out yet is because in actuality our cabin altitude is about 8,000 feet. So what happens is, as the airplane's climbing through the Earth's atmosphere, the pressure is steadily decreasing. So what commercial airplanes do is they pump air in and restrict the airflow out to maintain a lower altitude. So let's say even though we're at 30,000 feet, the air inside of the airplane is actually, the pressure is actually at 8,000 feet, which is kind of like being in, you know, maybe like the mountains in Denver or something like that. I mean, it's still high elevation for, you know, for someone like me and from Mississippi, but it's not high to a point where you get hypoxic, and you know, it's not deadly or dangerous. So 36,000 feet, and the cabin's at 8,000, the pressurized 8,000 feet is pretty good. You kind of start hitting the danger zone when you're about 10,000 feet. So if you're at 10,000 feet, this airplane will let you know. So, you know, no worries on that. Typically, the max you'll see a 737 cruising is at 41,000 feet, which 41,000 will put you right at about 9,000 feet. So, you know, which is no big deal. This guy here pretty much tells you the rate in feet per minute that the cabin or the cabin pressure inside the airplane is climbing up or down to. Pretty self-explanatory. You would actually use this as, let's say for instance, this computer died. This guy here died. It no longer controlled the valve for us, so we had to manually open and close the valve. We would use that to set the rate. If we're descending, if we were like let's say for instance we're climbing and we lose pressure and we're going through a mountain range and we can't descend, we've got to climb. So what we'll do, you would actually restrict the amount of air exiting the cabin by closing this valve, which builds pressure. So if you're descending, of course you will open it. When we land, it'll pretty much be freaking wide open. So but luckily we got double redundancy on the pressurization computer. So, and even if this one freaking takes a shit, we got alternate, and then if that doesn't work, we can go manual. So no biggie on that. On this side here, it's pretty much going to tell you the air temperature inside the cabin. You know, passengers get to bitching, you can adjust the temperature here, like, you know, basically like the thermostat in your home. The recirculation fan is pretty much what it is. It's a recirculation fan for the cabin air. A lot of times, you know, we'll use it to keep air, not run the air conditioning, but get air flowing in the cabin. Oh no. Going in and explaining each system would literally take about an 8-hour flight, and that would just give you a broad spectrum. Just to show you the Boeing manual, and I'm not sure if I can pick it up on the screen, but on the stream, but we're gonna try anyway. We're gonna go to PMDG, and we're gonna go to 737, and we're gonna, actually I think it's in my operations center, so let's go to the operations center. Go to the operations center, and I'm not sure, is it gonna pick this up? Actually it is. Yay, it's gonna pick it up. So let's go to my 737 and go to my documentation, and we're going to go to the flight crew training manual, which is actually literally from Boeing. So the flight crew training manual, as you see down there, 416 pages long, and this is just the flight crew training manual. So, and I mean, you got the flight crew operations manual, volume 1 and volume 2, and the quick reference guide, which is for the oh shit situations. So quite a bit of material to go over, but it's not complicated. It's one of those things you learn the systems just to know how things interact. But as far as operational standpoint, most of this shit is pretty much, you pretty much set it and leave it alone. Most of these switches here, yeah, I mean, for instance, the only time you would mess with the hydraulic pumps, let's say that overheat light illuminated, you know, crap, you know, or electric hydraulic pumps overheating, you know what, guess what, we got 3, we know we're down to, you know, we got 3 left, so freaking what, turn it off, big whoop. You know, so we got a little pressure, so that gave us a little pressure light, and if you'll come back, change views, and of course it's going to give us a master caution, which we know what's going on. If you come back here, guess what, we still have hydraulic pressure. We're still good, because we got what, 3 other pumps. So, you know, everything's like freaking double and triple redundant on an airplane, for a reason. I mean, there's a lot of times shit that happened that you wouldn't know, and you wouldn't even know. So, I mean, it's pretty, I mean, this is it. I mean, this guy is flying the flight plan for us. There's no weather. I would show you the weather radar. There's no weather, but what we can do here, we can actually go down here and test the radar. So you'll see it's going through radar test now. Oh, well, hold on. Hold it. There we go. So it's going through a little testing thing now. Which, of course, you wouldn't test it freaking in the air, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, you'll get little clouds and shit there. I mean, precipitation, echoes and shit like that. Yeah, once you get into it, it's really not bad. Basically, you know, you're looking, to be honest with you, and this is another stream, when you get a chance, Google the Dash 8 Q400. The Q400 is a turboprop, you know, like a puddle jumper. You're looking at maybe 30 or 40 seats, you know, 200-mile hops. That's really what it's designed for. That's more or less like an entry-level type aircraft as far as flying commercially. This is simpler than that. So, you know, just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, this aircraft is, and we're talking 1980s technology, 1990s, you know, late 80s, early 90s technology. You know, this is a 737. So we're not even talking new, like the new shit, like the new stuff. Like, you don't see any of this. It's all buttons. And it's pretty much, you know, if it's, you know, you turn it on or off and the computer takes care of the rest. Like the hydraulic pumps, the computer handles all that. Air management, the computer handles all that. The Boeing, like, exactly, like for instance, if you put me in an 18-wheeler right now, we'd be screwed. Completely screwed. Because, you know, initially looking at it, you know, you got 18 freaking gears. You got high and low. For instance, this is pretty funny you brought that up. I watched a YouTube video last night. And it was a Peterbilt W900, I think. But the guy had like freaking 3 shifters. And of course, I think what he did, like one stick was for the high-low valve, and the other stick was for something else, and others for something else. But when you're watching him, he's driving, and every time he goes down the clutch, he's like, you know, freaking moving these levers, and you're like, dude, what the hell? Like, seriously? And, you know, it looks deceiving, but when you actually look at see, basically, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You know, basically took the little switch off the side and made it, you know, a stick. And, you know, looking at it, you know, it seems kind of deceiving, but, you know, in all reality, you know, it's actually, now the operation is actually fairly simple. And, you know, I mean, from an engineering standpoint, you know, yeah, that's what I was reading on some of the comments, like, it was, yeah, it was kind of like more the, you know, more showboat than anything else. You know, which I ain't gonna lie, I was freaking impressed as shit. I'm like, you know, he's like driving, you know, it's like, what? Are you serious? And but yeah, I was reading some of the comments and they're like, oh, I know those guys, you know, freaking showboat or whatever. It's like, oh well, you know, teach his own. But I mean, you know, from an engineering standpoint, I mean, this really isn't designed to be complicated. I mean, you know, you could pretty much teach anybody. You know, matter of fact, you know, get a chance, YouTube some videos of like 10-year-old landing a 737 or something like that, and you'll see videos of, you know, kids landing, you know, 737. You know, they're not designed to be difficult. I think, you know, what really calls for training is when you run into like abnormal situations, and you know, even then, you know, there's so much redundancy and so much automation built into a lot of the aircraft nowadays until, I mean, shit'll happen and you won't even know it. Like, there's another manufacturer, kind of like Ford and Chevy, you know, you got Airbus and Boeing. Airbus, for instance, I mean, let's say, for instance, like you lose an engine. Well, you know, you lose an engine, the aircraft automatically configures it. I mean, you can literally lose an engine in an Airbus and it remain on autopilot and it wouldn't skip a beat. I mean, as a matter of fact, it'll actually react quicker than you. And I mean, it's simply redundancy. The Airbus A380, which is the new double-decker airplane that just came out, pretty much is controlled through a laptop. A lot of the flight crews for the A380 are issued laptops. Yeah. I mean, keyboard, you know, it's no longer, it's not stick and rudder anymore, fellas. It's freaking, yeah, I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I got out of it, because it's, you know, things are going so more toward efficiency and, you know, lowering ticket cost and, you know, remaining competitive. You know, back when oil was freaking, you know, $100 a barrel, you know, of course, you know, it's freaking tits up now, but, you know, airplanes are, you know, companies believe that the computer is more efficient than a pilot, but you need a pilot for abnormal circumstances and to, you know, I mean, you could pretty much make airliner drones, to be honest with you, and be, you know, I mean, to be just real with you, be, you know, fairly safe. And I'm sure that's come up in the board meeting or two. But, you know, from a passenger standpoint, you know, I'm sure, you know, the argument is, you know, passengers feel comfortable with two pilots or more, which is true, because, I mean, you never know what will happen. I mean, so, I mean, I kind of get that part, but, you know, it's exactly, I mean, they're taking over. I mean, you see them in trucks now. Like we discussed the other day, you see them in trucks now, aircraft there. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, pretty much like we did here. You take off 10,000 feet, you press the button and you're done. And I mean, I literally haven't touched the control on here since we left New Orleans. So, you know, like for instance here, we'll go back to our flight management computer and it's showing here in progress, we're about 180 miles from Dallas. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and tell the airplane, hey, let's go ahead and pick a runway. So we'll go ahead and tell it, let's say we're going to land on 31 right. So to help give us a little bit of better graphical representation, we'll put this display on plan mode. So it's actually showing where our airplane is in reference to the programmed flight plan. So we'll jump here and then we'll kind of fast forward. We'll fast forward through the flight plan and kind of look and see what we need to do. So what we'll do here, I'm basically taking a waypoint and connecting it with another, and hit execute, and that's pretty much it. So that should get us in for a nice final approach for runway 31. And typically, you know, while nothing's going on, we'll come here. We'll come here and we'll program the instrument landing system frequency for that particular runway. And like I explained before, basically you'll have a runway with a it basically emits a radio beam in a 3-degree incline up to a certain altitude. And what will happen is we'll program this frequency, which is 111.50, into our radios here, and the aircraft will actually track that, and that's pretty much what guides the airplane in. Now, of course, we can disengage all this and hand fly it, you know, like a champ, and you know, with no issues. But what happens is let's say, for instance, you know, we got fog, and you know, you can't even freaking, you know, you can't even freaking see your hand in front of your face. Well, with the aircraft programmed with the ILS frequency, we can actually land the aircraft without seeing the runway, in essence. As a matter of fact, this landing, I'm actually going to do what's called an auto land. And basically, we're going to let the airplane land itself. Just to show you the ridiculousness in this automation here. And so I'm going to go ahead and get everything set to go. We're about 42 miles from. Now, when you look here, you see 2TD 42, and that's your time in Zulu, and your mileage there. That's basically time to descent. So basically, we got 42 miles before we start going down and starting our approach and all that fun stuff. So, and that just gives us our airport, and that gives us our arrival time. And Zulu time, depending on where you're at in the country, is basically like an offset. So I remember in Mississippi, it's like +6. So you take 0552, 0552, and that +6, you know, and that gives you, God, I'm tired. That gives you like 11:52 Zulu time, which basically is like 11 p.m., 11:52 p.m. And so, Texas, I'm not sure of the offset in Texas, but I know Mississippi is +6. So FYI, Zulu time, if you get Zulu time, add +6, and then that's your time in 24-hour span. So, yeah. Alrighty then. So, that being said, all this is pretty much good to go. You would verify this though. Your landing altitude, basically your whatever elevation you're landing at, you want to program this guy here. I think in Dallas it's around like 600 feet. That's the reason why I preset it like that. But yeah, it's about 537. As long as you're within it, plus or minus 50, you're good. So we'll leave it at that. So like I said, distance to go is 123 miles. We'll land with about 8,000 pounds of fuel left. So that's well within the margin. We're good. So it's good stuff to know. So we'll go ahead and minimize that and continue our tour. There's really not much else to do but let the freaking thing fly itself. Alright, but of course these are your throttles. Now 2 engines, so 1 and 2. These can be separated. So let's say if we lose engine 1, we can bring engine 1 to idle and control engine 2. This is your spoiler level, spoiler level. Yeah, spoiler lever. Spoiler lever. Say that 5 times fast for me. Yeah. But our speed brake. Yeah, it's called speed brake as well. So this is your speed brake. So basically, you pull that guy back, and just to show you what it does. Pull that guy back, and it does that. And basically, it slows down the airplane. These are your flaps. The flaps that we were messing with on takeoff. That's what that is. Fuel control levers. That's pretty much, yeah, that controls the fuel flow off and on. Simple. These are your fire control handles. And basically, if the plane sees that number 2 is on fire, you'll see number 2 lighting up. And it'll go, yeah, it'll do that. They'll start ringing. Hey, I'm on fire. So basically, you grab whichever one is illuminated, pull it up, which cuts fuel, turn it, and when you turn it, it fires, it basically fires, retardant, or whatever you want to call it, into the engine and extinguishes the fire. So that's that. Basically, this whole guy here is nothing but your radios, and of course you got, redundancy things, so you got freaking 2 of everything. So going back here to our flight, we're about 13 miles out, so what we'll do, our altitude is 36,000 feet. We'll go ahead and turn that down to about 3 grand. So we're telling the airplane, we want you to go down to about 3,000 feet and level off there. So we're going to set that guy to 3 G's right there, and go back to our panel here. So these top radios, these are for your communications. They're of course, they're VHF. You do have one HF radio, and it's going to pause me. Yeah, sure. Yeah, James, when you get a chance, check that out. That's freaking crazy. He's freaking like shifting. Yeah, this is crazy. But yeah. So you got your voice comms here, your 2 radios there. In the middle here, this is pretty much your extinguishing system for your cargo. For your cargo compartments, in case they catch fire. You can extinguish them there. These are your navigation radios. Yeah, they're pretty much navigation radios. If you're tuning into like ILS, like we're about to do, or what have you, you'll enter the frequencies here. This is your weather radar control panel. You can adjust your beam up or down or whatever, depending on what you need. This guy here controls your heads-up display, and basically this guy here you pretty much just pick which channel you want to talk on. Like, say if you want to talk on the PA. You'll hit PA, and that's at that point. That's when the captain's like, "Attention, folks, this is your captain speaking." Blah 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 blah. He's actually talking on PA channel. So that's that. Back to VHF is yeah, when you're talking to air traffic control or whatnot. Coming down, this is for your ADF, for like your NDBs. NDBs are going away. There used to be an old AM. Basically, all it is basically AM radio, AM stations, and they utilized AM towers for navigation back in the day. But they're slowly going. Well, actually, they're pretty much gone now. Matter of fact, if you've seen a lot of commercial airplanes, you might not even see these here. They might be gone. They're probably already gone now. Of course, this is your transponder. This is what communicates to air traffic control, basically who you are. You'll, of course, you'll turn in, they'll give you a transponder code. and you just dial that in there, and so they can, you know, they'll tell you to squat 12, 1, 2, 0, 4, so you'll squat basically that, and that's what gives you that. And then back here, just your floodlights and your trim and your flight deck door, so if you want to lock it to keep the Taliban from getting you, just lock it there. And that's pretty much it. A little thing on trim, basically trim is just what it is. Like, let's say you're flying and it feels like the airplane is kind of fighting you when you're let's say if you're climbing or something and you want to kind of stabilize the climb, you can actually trim out excess control forces just to kind of help you maintain control of the airplane a little bit better. And that's pretty much what trim is. And that's pretty much it. Let's see. That is that's pretty much it. So, we are, right now, we're at 26,000 feet. Everything's looking just peachy. Coming up on Dallas there. Yeah, James might be, Lord knows where James is right now. He's probably watching, but I know he watches from his phone, so he might not have the chat up, but it just depends sometimes. Yeah, so yeah, I'll be sure to pass that along those in. But he's probably watching and not having his chat up. He is bad about that sometimes. Alright, so just a couple things we can do though to get ready for their approach. We can go ahead and set up our auto brake. And if you notice here on the auto brake, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then max. Basically, the numbers just represent the amount of effort that you want the amount of effort that you want from the aircraft's braking system. So when you land, instead of you having to freaking land, get on the brakes, and do everything else, the aircraft actually applies brakes for you. So by setting a number, it's pretty much just setting how much braking effort do you want the aircraft to give. So that's that. Setting our approach speed, we're going to be landing at 128 knots again. And that should be about it. That should be it. Oh, in case you're wondering what everything looks like with all the lights on. Bam. This is, I just hit a light test switch, and that's just like all the little lights and bells and whistles. It just turns them all on to make sure that there's no blown bulbs or anything, or bad displays or anything. So just turn that off. And like I said, normally you would do all that before you even left. So man, I can't stop yawning. Like I said, we went to Six Flags earlier, and God, that was like a workout in itself. Alright, so we are coming out of below 18,000 feet, so we want to go ahead and set our barometric pressure. And that will do that there. That's actually telling us giving us our programmed vertical path, if that makes sense. So as long as this arrow is close to this guy there, we are basically on a good descent path. So normally when it starts getting below this line, if you slow down a little bit or apply some brakes or speed brake, you can kind of chase that down a little bit, but that's close enough. It doesn't have to be spot on. Alright, so we're getting close to 10,000 feet. So we're going to go ahead and start slowing down, because right now we're at about 300 knots. So there we go. Right now we're about 300 knots, so we need to get down to about 240 knots below 10,000 feet. Actually, that's like the rule, 10,000 feet. So we're going to go ahead and start slowing down. So we're passing through 250. Right now I got my speed brakes on as well to kind of help us start slowing down. So we're at about 240, so we can go ahead and get off the speed brakes there as we start coming over the Dallas metro area. Alright, you can see there our speed is getting a little slow from our programmed airspeed, so the autopilot is like, oh crap, I'm getting too slow, let's add a little power there. So that's what it's doing there, starting to add a little power to try to get our speed back up. Actually, we can turn this off here. There we go. Kind of brighten this up there, brighten the panel up a little bit. Alright, so right now we're coming below 10,000 feet, so let's go ahead and get the passengers button down back there and go ahead and turn those fasten seatbelt signs on and go ahead and get our landing lights on. Below 10,000 feet, the airspace is pretty busy. Not only do you have commercial traffic, you got general aviation traffic as well, so you want to make yourself as visible as possible. So normally landing lights are just what they're for, just what's stated is their landing lights. So but also they serve a secondary purpose of increasing our visibility so other air traffic can see us. So I want to keep those, go ahead and get those on, and then just give you an idea what they look like there on the airplane. You got two there on the bottom. Those actually retract and retract into the fuselage, so they'll actually kind of lay flat. These guys here are pretty much kind of like embedded in the wings, so that's that. Alright, coming out at about 7,000 feet, and let's go ahead and start working some of that speed out there. So, in aviation, the faster you go, the further ahead of the airplane you have to be. And, yeah, it looks great. It looks great. And like I said, my system is mediocre, and you look at some of these other systems that run it, and it looks freaking phenomenal. Yeah, so the faster we're going, the further ahead we're thinking. So even though we're still about a good 20 miles out from the runway, we have to start slowing down now, because of course, you know, we're thinking 240 knots. We're basically going about 250 miles an hour. So, you know, you got all of this going 250 miles an hour. So it's imperative that we stay ahead of the airplane and work on getting slowed down, or you will overshoot. And yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. So so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and start working in some flaps too, to kind of help us slow down. Oh, James says hi, Zen. He just sent me a text. So we're going to start working in those flaps. And I just set the autopilot to 180 knots. So I'm telling the autopilot, hey, hold 180 knots. So it won't go no slower than 180 knots. See, we're getting to about 180 now. And you'll start to see that power come in, right? Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's kind of using pitch to kind of keep this airspeed up. Okay, cool. So, alright. So about 180 knots now. I'm going to go ahead and work in that first initial notch of flaps. That's actually your leading edge slats. We're going to go ahead and start bringing flaps down to about 5 degrees. And let's go ahead and slow down to about 170 knots, because we're about 12 miles from the airport. No, 14 miles from the airport, I'm sorry. And go ahead and turn on our approach mode. So right now the airplane is set for the flight plan, but it's looking for that. Yep, there we go. We just locked on to the instrument landing system we were talking about earlier. So locking on to that, we'll go ahead and start working out some of the airspeed, because it's going to get, stuff's going to start happening pretty quick. So actually, let's bring it back up to about 165. Even though we're locked onto the approach path, we haven't intercepted. Like, here's the glide path and here's our airplane. We want to catch it and start riding it down. We haven't caught it yet, so we're gonna have to maintain 3 grand until we catch it. So we're gonna slow up for about 160 knots. We're at about 10 degrees of flap. So right now you're probably hearing the engines kind of come in a little bit to kind of compensate for it. Alright, so we got our landing lights down and they're on. Looks good. So we're about to intercept the glide path, so we're going to go ahead and arm. There's actually 2 autopilots. You only need 1 to fly, but for landing, for auto landings, we need 2 armed. So I'm going to go ahead and arm both of them, and we're going to go ahead and drop our. We're going to go ahead and drop our gear down. So we got gear down, and we're going to bring in 15 degrees of flaps. and actually bring down our heads-up display and follow it there. So, alright, so we're going to go ahead and bring in 25 degrees of flaps. And go ahead and bring in that last 40. Alright, we're in the stabilized approach there, and you can see downtown Dallas off to our left. Even though we should be actually flying the approach, and since the airplane's doing it, we might as well sightsee, so yeah. But of course, you know, I'm not flying at all. Strictly on autopilot still. We're going to go ahead and arm the spoilers. Alright, so now it is now set for our auto line, so it's going to handle the rollout as well as the flare. And the flare is basically the little nose up action that you see. So yeah, she's going to land it for us. Kind of use some other views.
1,000.
Just from the ground. Has a little wing view there. Back up to the cockpit. And also, as we're on this auto land, I have my hand on the throttle and the yoke, or the control wheel, in case SHIT hits the fan. We can take immediate control. But right now she's doing good. 200 feet is our decision, go, no go on the landing. So we're gonna go, of course, but so 200 feet.
200.
Alright, we will be landing. Okay, there she goes. 50 feet, got the flare.
20.
Idle.
10.
Perfect auto landing. Perfect auto landing. Alright, got the rollout, reverse thrust engaged. Alright, 60 knots, reverse thrust off. Speed brakes are retracted. And I have the controls. And I think we exit this way, so yeah. So we're going to exit. There we go. Captain Autopilot. Captain Auto. Woo. Okay. Alright, so we're going to, and like I said, normally as a first officer, you got a co-pilot. You'll have a co-pilot there on your left-hand side, kind of retracting flaps and bringing everything up for you, but we don't have that, so we'll have to bring all this stuff up and kind of give you the view of the flaps there. They're retracting back, get cleaned up. And let's see, turn off the auto brake. We don't need that no more. Go ahead and turn off the autopilot, turn off auto, put him to bed, tell him, give him a pat on the back, good job. Didn't kill us. And that is, basically that noise is telling you that the autopilot has been disengaged. So, turn that on. And I'm not going to turn on the APU since this would be the last flight of the day. So, And we'll go ahead and turn on the dome light and get some extra light in there. And we will go ahead and continue our taxi. And of course, you know, at this point we'll be communicating with ground, and they'll be giving us directions on you know, which taxiways to take, things of that nature, as well as, you know, of course, to your company's gate. But I mean, for what we got going on, yeah, we just freaking find the nearest gate and taxi there, and there you go. So I think we're gonna hit that one up right yonder way. See my Mississippi exit coming out right over yonder. Alright, so alright, get lined up with the center line there. Normally at this point you would have somebody at the gate, a marshaller, directing you in, and the taxi lights blind the shit out of them. So I don't have scenery at this airport, but a lot of times you'll have lights and shit all around the gate or whatnot, so you'll be able to see the serial line to line up. So normally what happens is they'll actually turn off the taxi light to you know, of course, just help the guy who's gotten you. So yeah, so we'll just, yeah, for all intents and purposes, we'll bring her on up till about right here. Right there, hang on the brakes. Alright, so like I said, you know, I didn't turn on the APU last flight of the day, so we'll go ahead and get all the pertinence off, get all that off there. That's off. Okay, that's done. And go ahead and kill number one. Then at this point you'll have somebody plugging your external power in, so they'll go ahead and get your power hooked up. So, and then you'll go ahead and kill two, and then at that point you lose. Like right now, okay, we've lost power, and you'll see here shortly the generators are going to start going offline, and we'll stop losing. We'll lose generator power, and we'll lose all electrical power here in a minute. Right now the engines are spinning down, so we're still getting a little residual electrical power off that. So we got number one's already offline. There we go. So as of right now, we no longer have AC power. So we're dead in the water. Right now we are running off DC power. So in case, if you know, of course, if we had this situation, then that's telling us basically. That's basically telling us that yeah, you've lost power. So normally in this situation, if we were actually flying and got this, we would go ahead and turn on the APU, which the APU, thank goodness, is able to be started with battery power, so we can get it fired up, and that'll provide us AC power to be able to work the problem, or possibly get engines back started or what have you. So being that we're on the ground on terra firma, we'll go ahead and looks like Scooter on the ground got us ground power hooked up, so we'll go ahead and connect that, and there you go, brings everything back up online, and we'll have the gate pulling in, and throw all the other junk out there. You'll come down here, there, ground connections, and then, you know, they'll hook up an air start cart, freaking air conditioning unit, what have you. Normally, in the last flight of the day, they're not even hooking up the air conditioning unit. They're ready for you to get the hell out so they can get in and freaking clean and do whatever they gotta do, and so they can go the heck home. So, normally at this point, you're doing last flight of the day paperwork, any maintenance issues that you may have had, any squawks or whatever. You'll go ahead and note that up, and wait for everybody to freaking get off, and you'll go out and do your little walk around, basically a little BS walk around. Everything's good here, everything's good there, or whatnot. By the book though, you know, it's a thorough check. Making sure there was no, making sure you're gonna flat spot the tires. Yeah, there's a butt ton of gadgets on here, but it's not bad. But yeah, that's a big thing, especially on crosswind landings. Those the mains, they can be flat spotted, so you know you'd want to go ahead and make sure there's no flat spots on the tires. Make sure there's no a rock didn't fly up and cut one of your freaking your lines for your brakes or anything. Anything that can be noted up and worked on overnight by maintenance or whatnot, you'll go ahead and do that. And freaking call it a night. But other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, this aircraft's from PMDG. I think it's like I said, I think it's like $60–70. Great airplane, easy to fly. They got several tutorials available. I'm streaming it all the time, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Absolutely phenomenal airplane. What's that? I feel like it. Yeah, it's not bad at all, my friend. It's really not bad at all. Like I said, go use Steam, check out Flight Sim Max. Like I said, you might even catch it on sale. Install it, try it, see what you think, and come back and let me know. Because like I said, you know, this is on the extreme end of what Flight Sim offers. There's tons of modifications out there, different sceneries, for instance, that are available. Depending on your skill level and what you're comfortable with, because to be honest with you, a lot of the times I don't feel like taking 30 minutes just to get the plane ready to leave. So there are aircraft out there you can jump in, start up, and fly. I mean, the sky's the limit, no pun intended. Sky's the limit as far as what you want to do with it. But like I said, just no, definitely, yeah, definitely check it out. But other than that, guys, man, once again, great night of streaming. I appreciate y'all coming in and checking me out. You know, it really motivates me to stream, especially after coming back from freaking Six Flags, because you know, I got home, I was like, you know what, you know, maybe I'll stream, I don't know. So I'll do a quick flight, you know, and did a quick flight, and you know, it definitely motivates me. At least I can share my enthusiasm with aviation with others, and the other games I play, you know, American Truck Sim or whatever. So I do appreciate you guys, you know, coming in. Yeah, dude, it's a blast, man. I love it. So I'll probably be on tomorrow. Just if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And you know, that should give you a notification when I'm on and up streaming. Because I mean, literally, I don't know. I'm a father of 2 and married, so my schedule is like based off their schedule. So yeah, man, look for me. But other than that, man, like I said, I appreciate you guys' swinging by. Smooth, I seen you on there. How's it going? Like I said, I'll be back on tomorrow, so catch me sometime tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Till then, take care of yourself and each other.